Alright, let's do this. Kind of a little crazy thing that just happened. I was just about to start and the phone just died. And I don't know if this is going to be a regular occurrence, but I definitely know that we are I'm in the realm of obsoleteness, I guess. Florida thing is really like cluttering my mind even more, and my mind definitely didn't need any cluttering at all. And I haven't even really started planning it yet. I've just talked about it. trips that I do, they were always going to be solo. And I haven't done a solo trip because of it. Scratch everything. I tout myself off as a huge nerd. I really do. Most people like I hang out with, like they're like not even interested in few of the things that I'm interested in. Streaming is that it actually brings together, these basically super nerds, and I get to be nerdy for as long as I want to, and that became my world, even before I became a streamer. It wasn't until recently, and I had a discussion about, there are people that I now know, which I thought that they were part of the whole nerdy culture, but they're really not. And I mean, when somebody tells me that they don't even watch Star Wars, the original trilogy, I'm just like, what? And then I think, oh, it's because, they're young. And it's like, no, that's not why. They just hate science fiction movies. One of my brothers does not like science fiction because they see it as fake. They get into the argument like wrestling, and they say, well, because wrestling is fake, and I'm like going, wrestling's very dangerous. Wrestling's a highly physical, highly dangerous entertainment thing, and it literally is normally just two stuntmen, the best way to put it, getting into a ring and doing really dangerous stunts. And you can't, what was it? It was Bill Maher. Had Roddy Piper and a few other wrestlers on. He was like going, you could tell everybody it's fake, right? And Roddy Piper basically came in there and said, hey, look at this scar, look at this thing. I got pain in my back, I've been injured and hospitalized and everything like that, just wrestling. It's very far from fake. Yes, there's an entertainment aspect of it. There's the showman aspect of it. That gets people involved in it, and that's one of the reasons why people like it. I don't really watch wrestling now, but I would never say that it's not dangerous, it's not this, and it's not real. I mean, yes, I will say this, that the illusion, I think, that they were trying to reward for me, was dispelled when I saw, just recently passed, Hulk Hogan, pull a razor blade out of his, what are they called, sweat cuffs, sweatband that he had on his wrist. He pulled a razor blade out of that and cut his face all up with it while writhing on the ground. And, had blood all over the place. And it's not fake blood. And that's a dangerous thing to be doing. Cutting yourself with a razor. Trying to get to is like the interest in these things. I could have just left it, because the truth of the matter is that they had no interest to begin with. They weren't going to understand the time, dedication, how much it takes to set up, basically the stunt, the high-flying, dangerous maneuvers that they do. There's a reason why, Jimmy the Superfly Snooker was so freaking popular. It's because he was doing some really dangerous top rope jumping that it was unreal. Definitely showing off my age. But the reason I bring up the wrestlers is because I was talking about a science fiction movie, They Live, which had Roddy Piper in it, the Rodman himself, and how great of a movie that was, and what a social commentary, and how that really looks, on today. The subliminal advertising, the not revealing what's really going on with our government. And I was saying, everybody talks about now, how idiocracy is such a commentary on the state, and how smart people aren't having kids and dumb people are having too many kids, and how we are becoming idiocracy. And it's it's dark. There's a lot of things that are happening that happen in the movie that are happening in real life, but I don't think that's the state we're headed. We're headed into complete control. It would be optimistic. The thing about idiocracy that I think is optimistic is that people are still free to make the choices, to, albeit dumb choices, but people are still free. The dumbing down is exactly like George Carlin said. They want us smart enough to freaking push the buttons and, work the machines. they don't want us smart enough to like make informed, critical thinking decisions, because they don't want a well-informed society, because otherwise that society will realize how much they're being fucked. Our government creates a bad guy that people can blame and be angry at and stuff like that. And the truth of the matter is that the Democrats seem to be doing the same thing. And that's the more difficult part of it. The reason why Democrats lose always, like it was Newsroom, right? Like in Newsroom, and he says, what's so great about America? And he listed why we're like, literally 14 at the time. And now that we're heading towards, dictatorship, because we're a society that doesn't want to take responsibility. I mean, South Park said it right when they were like going, well, blame Canada for our problems. And it's like, yeah, why don't we fix our problems? I sometimes wonder whether we had, I now have doubt in our voting system from this past election. And just so you know, that's what the Republicans want to have happen. But even still, even with that doubt, 74 million Americans. Said this is what they wanted. Like, it still blows my mind. It's not the majority, but it's definitely enough. Obviously, it's I thought, how lucky am I to be born in this awesome country? That puts freedom, individuality over all. And we live in a society that does not want that. That almost cannot stand that we have that. And it's our biggest selling point. And yes, I grew up with, I can't tell you how many times a person has come to me and made the crack and made the joke that, it's another day and they still haven't used algebra. And I'm like going, have you had any critical thinking at all today? Because when somebody says they don't use algebra, that's what they're telling me. That they have not had any critical thinking at all. That they didn't make any of their own decisions that day. Or if they did make their decisions, they were not informed. They did not think, what was, they did not put it in an equation, which most people don't realize that they do. And weighing their best options. That's algebra. Yeah, algebra is a funny word, but that's algebra. Algebra is complete critical thinking. It's how math affects you every day. Affects me every day. It has since even before I learned it. I learned that's what it was. When I was first taught algebra, and speaking about, the teacher actually said, you'll never use this, it'll never have any impact in your life whatsoever, it is just required math. And a math teacher telling this to all the students, and I would assume that because most of them realize that the teacher is right, that is where they are. But it took another math teacher, actually my trigonometry teacher, to explain how algebra, you can apply algebra to trigonometry. And then I'm like going, now I gotta freaking learn my algebra and my algebra 2. Because I really didn't pay attention. And then how it's connected to everything. And then you get into relativity. And then you get into realizing that everything is connected. And it all stems to algebra. Cool beans in the comments below. It doesn't have to be cool beans. It can be whatever you like. And wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a fantastic day. I will be back on Saturday, which would probably be your Sunday. And we get to figure out what happened. See if anything changed. I hope a live stream. How about that? All right, I will talk to you soon. All right, bye.